Most people think financial freedom is one finish line, a number, a house, a day you stop working and start living. That's not what it is. Financial freedom is a staircase, and almost nobody tells you which step you're standing on right now or what the next one actually requires. There are levels. Most people climb two or three of them by accident and then spend the rest of their lives staring at the top floor, wondering why the distance never closes. Nobody explains the steps in between. Here they are. Level 1. Survival. Lena has $32 in checking 3 days before payday. She's done this math before. Gas or groceries, not both. Rent is covered, barely, because she moved the cable bill to next month to make it happen. There's no plan here. There's no spreadsheet. There's just today, and getting through it, and a kind of tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. This is the level most financial advice ignores completely, because most financial advice assumes you already have something to allocate. At survival, there's nothing to allocate. There's only the gap between what's coming in and what's already spoken for, and the gap is usually negative. Every dollar has already been spent before it arrives. People who've never lived here assume it's about bad decisions. It's rarely about decisions at all. It's about a system that requires margin to function and gives none to the people who need it most. Lena isn't bad with money. Lena has never once had enough of it in the same place at the same time to practice being good with it. The way out of this level isn't a budgeting app. It's $100. Just $100. Sitting somewhere untouched. That didn't exist last month. That's the entire next level. Nobody tells you the bar is that low. They let you believe it's a house deposit away, and that belief is exactly what keeps people stuck here longer than they need to be. The first time Lena gets to $100 and leaves it alone, nothing dramatic happens. No alarm goes off. No one notices. That's precisely the point. The level doesn't announce itself when you cross it. It just quietly stops being true that every dollar is already spent before it lands. Level 2. Solvency. Theo pays every bill on time. No overdraft fees. No collections calls. On paper, Theo looks fine. Theo is not drowning. Theo is just always swimming, every month, with nothing left over when he reaches the other side. One bad week, a car repair, a dentist visit, a shift that gets cut, and he's back at level 1 by Thursday. This is where most people live for years without realizing it's a level at all. They think solvency is the goal because it's the level where the panic finally stops being constant. It isn't the goal. Solvency just means the bleeding stopped. It doesn't mean anything's been built behind it. Theo's coworker assumes he's doing better than she is because his rent is never late and his name never comes up in collections calls at the office. She doesn't see that Theo's checking account hits zero on the same day every month, like a tide that always goes out exactly as far as it came in. The marker for the next level is small enough to sound unimpressive. $1,000 sitting in an account Theo doesn't touch. Not retirement, not investing, just $1,000 that exists specifically so the next bad week doesn't undo the last 6 months. Level 3. Stability. Priya has that $1,000 now. Her car needs a $640 repair in March. She pays it. Nothing else happens. No missed rent, no decision between the mechanic and the electric bill, no panic. The repair is just a repair for the first time in her adult life instead of a crisis with a price tag attached. This is the level where the psychology shifts before the bank account does. Priya doesn't feel rich. She feels something quieter. The absence of dread that used to show up every time the phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Most emergencies, it turns out, aren't actually emergencies. They're just bills that arrived without a buffer to meet them. Priya tells her sister about the repair almost as an afterthought because it genuinely wasn't a big deal. Her sister, still at level 2, asks how she's so calm about $640 leaving her account in one shot. Priya doesn't really have an answer. The calm wasn't a personality trait. It was $1,000 sitting still, doing its only job. The next level requires multiplying this number, not changing its nature. 3 to 6 months of expenses, sitting in the same kind of account, doing the same kind of waiting. Level 4. Breathing room. Devin has 4 months of expenses saved and no debt beyond his car payment. His company announces layoffs in September. Devin's co-workers spend the next 6 weeks in a low hum of panic, checking job boards at their desks, recalculating how many paychecks of runway they actually have left. Devin doesn't. Not because he's certain he's safe. Nobody's certain. But because if the call comes, he has months to find the next thing instead of days. This is the first level where money stops being only about survival and starts being about choice. Devin can say no to a bad manager. He can take 2 extra weeks finding the right next job instead of the first available one. The breathing room doesn't make him wealthy. It makes him someone who isn't forced into his next decision by fear. Almost nobody talks about this level because it doesn't look like anything from the outside. Devin's car is the same car. His apartment is the same apartment. The entire transformation happened in an account nobody else has ever seen the balance of, which is exactly why nobody else knows to aim for it. Devin's manager, the same one he could now say no to, has no idea any of this is true. To her, Devin looks identical to every other employee with a stable job and an ordinary commute. The leverage he's quietly built is invisible right up until the moment he uses it, and by then, it's already too late for her to do anything about it. Level 5. Flexibility. Hannah has been saving and investing for 6 years past breathing room. She doesn't have walk-away money. She has something smaller and more useful: pay cut money. Hannah takes a job that pays $14,000 less a year because it cuts her commute by 90 minutes a day, and she finally has a reason to make that trade because the gap doesn't threaten anything she's built. This is the level where money starts buying time back instead of just buying safety. Flexibility means big life decisions stop being decided entirely by the paycheck. A relocation, a slower season, a kid. None of these get easier because Hannah's rich. They get possible because Hannah isn't boxed in by every dollar already having a job assigned to it before it lands. People at this level rarely look different to outsiders. They just start making choices that quietly confuse people who assumed money was the only thing stopping them too, when really, it was just the absence of room to move. Level 6. Independence. Omar's investments, left alone for 18 years, now generate enough to cover his actual cost of living, if he ever needed them to. He still works. Most people at this level still work, not because they have to, but because the alternative, for most humans, gets boring faster than they expected. The difference is that work has become optional instead of mandatory, and optional changes the entire emotional weight of a bad Tuesday. The number that gets Omar here isn't mysterious. It's roughly 25 times his annual expenses, sitting in investments that can reasonably be expected to sustain themselves over time. Nobody hands you this number when you graduate. Nobody mentions it at any point, actually, unless you go looking for it yourself, which most people never think to do, because nobody told them there was a number to look for in the first place. Omar's brother, still at level 4, asks him what changed. Omar says nothing changed, really. He just kept doing the same boring thing for 18 years without stopping to perform anything along the way. His brother doesn't quite believe that's the whole answer. It is, almost entirely, the whole answer. This is the level the word rich gets attached to from the outside. It's rarely the level that feels like winning from the inside. It feels more like exhaling. Level 7. Abundance. Grace is past independence by a wide margin. She gives money away without checking a spreadsheet first. She takes career risks that have nothing to do with income, because income stopped being the binding constraint on her decisions years ago. This is the rarest level, not because it requires luck, but because it requires every level before it to have been built in order without skipping ahead, without performing a level before actually reaching it. This is the level most people picture when they picture financial freedom. It's also the level that makes the least sense to chase directly. Nobody arrives at abundance from survival in one move. They arrive by treating the $1,000 as seriously as the million, because the $1,000 was actually the harder, more important one to get right. Here's the part nobody explains. Most people don't fail to reach financial freedom because they aimed too low. They fail because they never knew the staircase existed, so they kept staring at the top floor from the basement, waiting for a number big enough to jump the whole distance at once. It never comes in one jump. It comes in 7 steps, most of them quiet, most of them invisible to everyone except the person climbing them. Somewhere right now, someone has $32 in checking and 3 days until payday. They think the distance between that number and Grace's life is the entire problem. One impossible canyon, uncrossable, the kind of gap only luck closes. It isn't a canyon. It's 7 steps. Most of them cost less than the dinner they're not having tonight to make rent. You are on one of these steps right now, not the bottom one you imagine, and not the top one you're picturing either. The next level isn't a fortune. It's smaller than you think, and closer than anyone ever told you it would be.